Hi, welcome back to Just an Everyday Fan. Thank you for joining me again. If you like my content, please help me out and hit the subscribe button. So I'm kind of late to the game on this one. As we know, the Indiana Fever played the Connecticut Sun last night. It was a game. We won, but at what cost? Kind of tragedy, really. During the game, we had Kelsey Mitchell putting up 20 points, Natasha Howard 18 points, Caitlyn Clark 14 points, Sophie Cunningham 11, Aaliyah Boston 11. The Indiana Fever took the Connecticut Sun 85-77. Now, let's talk about the refs. They impacted the game from the word go. They were making bad calls from the word go. It was difficult to watch. You know, we had, I thought, a couple of games ago when we played the Dream, who can be a physical team, we had calls, we had referees that were actually doing their job, making the calls, and they were making the calls equal. Not for one team, not for the other. There seemed to be some equality there, and the game was just smooth. And this is all we're asking of Kathy Engelberg, right? Just put competent refs in. Put unbiased refs in that just do their job. But that's not always the case. And especially when you have a team like the Connecticut Sun. Is it just me, guys? Because it seems like to me the Connecticut Sun is just to say they're a chippy team is putting it mildly. They put some hard fouls out, and they do it because they continually get away with it. So they've injured some players, and it just seems like this is how they do their game. Well, I'm sorry, Mayberry and Charles and Rivers and Sheldon. If that's how you want to win your games, great. It's a dirty win. You play dirty games. That's my opinion. There's a couple of teams out there like that I just don't want to watch. Like, I am not going to watch a Connecticut Sun game unless the Indiana Fever are playing them. That's just me. That's how I feel. And it's hard to watch teams that are continually taking advantage of the calls and the refs' generosity. And it seems like some refs just really hate the Fever. And it should be an unbiased game. At one point, so we had I'm trying to remember everything because I did not write this down. We had Mitchell getting the first blow that I remember. So she went up with Tina Charles and she hit her face. She was going for the ball for the stop. She hit her face, and they called the foul on that. And then during that, Tina Charles came around with her elbow on the way down and hit Kelsey Mitchell in the trachea and the throat, and it knocked her back onto the floor. And now Stephanie White challenged this, and she lost, therefore losing all her other challenges. So, you know, they called Tina Charles basic assault, really. I mean, she intentionally came around with that elbow. You can look at it. Look at it in regular play. Look at it in slow motion. The outcome is still the same. They called that incidental. There was contact incidental to the original foul, which was Kelsey Mitchell. Even the commentators that were on the game disagreed and said that that was not incidental to the foul, that should have been an opposing offsetting foul, and maybe even should have been upgraded to a flagrant. So here you go. This set the tone of the game. And then you have Boston with a hit to the face. You have continually hand-checking Caitlyn Clark and pushing her, not getting any foul calls. And at one point, Stephanie White went over to the referee and she gave the hand-check motion, and she said, "You need to start calling these on Caitlyn. This is ridiculous." So you had Tina Charles, you had Rivers, you had Sheldon wrapping up multiple players, holding multiple players. They weren't called. They just weren't called. You had Sophie taking hits, Lexi taking hits, Boston taking hits, Caitlyn Clark taking hits, and Mitchell. I mean, this was a hard game. And at what cost? When you have the announcers disagreeing with the refs, and you know they can only go so far, so they're very gingerly at how they're saying things, but they had to say something. And I think if we look at this and we say, okay, maybe the announcers do need to get involved because they know what these calls are, right? They've played basketball. They know what the calls are. They can see things that maybe the average day person, like the everyday fan like me, don't know. Maybe they start getting involved and calling it out. I mean, what's it going to take for Kathy Engelbert and company to fix this issue with the referees? Here we are we're mid-season going into the All-Star break, and we're still having issues. And it's not only the Indiana Fever. A lot of teams are having issues. It's like these refs have these bias and they pick who they want to win and they favor those calls toward those teams. It just seems wrong. Now, as we know, I think there was like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes left in the game. Caitlyn Clark gets injured again. She's passing to one of her teammates for the bucket. So she's on an assist pass and she's passing. And she comes up and she pulls up and she grabs that right groin. Now, this is not the left one. This is not the one that was injured. This is not the left quad or the left groin. This appeared to be on the right side. And I have no confirmation on this. I mean, even Stephanie White, when they asked her in the post game, Caitlyn's injury, was that the right groin? And she goes, she was like, I don't know. Is that what it was? Was that the right groin? I don't know. How do you not know when the biggest player on your team gets injured? How do you not know? Is it just Stephanie not wanting to answer the question? Does she know? I would, if it were me and I were a coach and one of my biggest players got injured, any injury to any player on my team, I would go, once we were in the locker room, I would go to that player and say, how are you doing? What's going on? Maybe, I don't know, is it a HIPAA rule, a HIPAA violation where they can't ask the player? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But Stephanie White seems to be clueless. Or is she clueless? Or is she just leading us down this path of, we're just going to say, I don't know, and go on to the next question? No clue. Now, at one point, Caitlyn Clark got very heated, right? This was before the injury. She started having a conversation with one of the refs. It seemed amenable, right? It seemed all good. And then all of a sudden you could see her, the expression on her face changed. And you could see her say, you know, unbelievable. I think she may have said a couple of words before that. And she motioned with her finger like, come here. And she was talking to the ref, and I knew she was talking to the ref. And then she said, I'm going to call the league on you. And then other channels are reporting that the ref told her, I didn't see this because I couldn't really see what he was saying, but the other channels were reporting that the ref said, just work on your shot. That would be like me telling a surgeon just to work on his opening or closing technique, or just work on, you know, whatever surgery you're performing. It just doesn't happen. If you go to the NFL, you're not going to see a ref telling a quarterback, just work on your passing. That's just not going to happen. You're not going to see it in the NBA. So why do we have it in the WNBA? Why do we allow this in the WNBA? Why aren't these refs taken out of the lineup for inappropriate conduct and action like this? If they have bias, if they're calling games always with bias, why can Engelberg not get a handle on this? That's seems to be the question of the year. Now, last minute and a half, 2 minutes, Caitlyn Clark comes up injured, right? She grabs that right groin, and your heart's breaking because she walks directly to the stanchion and she just puts her head in it. And I don't know whether that was just sheer frustration out of her part or her realizing this just ended her season, or most of it. Like the All-Stars are coming up. She's supposed to be in the three-point shoot-off. There's all these things that are happening in the next couple of days. She's supposed to be in the CBA negotiations on Thursday. All these things that are happening, and she was so upset. Like, only Caitlyn knows the pain she was feeling at the time, and Caitlyn's going to know whether this is going to be an injury that's going to take her out or not. And she started tearing up. At one point, she put a towel over her head, and your heart just broke, or at least mine did. It was like, you don't want to see any player going through this at all. You don't want to see players carried off the court because of possible ACL injuries. You don't want to see concussions. You don't want to see pneumothoraxes. You don't want to see teeth being knocked out. You don't want to see a player getting injured and know that this is probably going to end them for another 10 games. I mean, she's already been out half the season with injury, and now this is a different leg. So we have a lot of people on a lot of channels that are finding this orthopedic surgeon that has weighed in on this, and it appears he's more of a he's an MD. I have not checked into him, but I used to be in supply chain for the surgical profession, medical profession. So I understand PRP, injections, all that kind of stuff. Now, if you talk to nurses, PRP is you ask nurses, they call it witchcraft. But the doctors will tell you, yeah, it works because they've been sold this from the reps of the companies. Now, this is not an expensive treatment. It's a simplistic treatment, but it costs thousands of dollars. And the insurances, at the time I was in, the insurances refused to pay for it because it was not an accepted practice. For usually it's orthopedic surgeries, sports surgeries, anything working with soft tissue, tendons, ligaments, and podiatry. So it kind of depended on a couple of things. If you're a regular everyday person like me, you go in. Now, the sports team probably don't have this issue because I'm sure that their stuff is paid for. But you go in, they draw blood, so you're having a surgery, they draw blood, they put it in a centrifuge, the rep brings a centrifuge in, they spin it down, they take the plasma off, they inject it into the site of the surgery or the injury. Now, it's supposed to accelerate the healing process because you're having concentrated plasma put in the area. And so it kind of bathes that muscle or bathes that soft tissue or the bone or whatever you're dealing with to try to accelerate the healing process. Now, it can provide some growth factor as well. Does it work? Don't know. But I know doctors do it, and a lot of doctors do it to pad their billing charges onto cases. It's not extremely widely accepted because insurances just won't pay for it. So for the everyday person, it's just not something. Now, if you have the money out of pocket to lay down $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, sure, you can get it done as many times as you want. So there's not going to be a lot of contraindications with this because they're taking your own blood, ejecting it back into your own body. And doctors have used it. Now, whether this is something Caitlyn can have or whether they've done this already, I mean, I don't know. Now, as we all know, the Fever take on the New York Liberty tonight. The Fever are sitting at a 12-10 standing. New York is 14-6. And then we have Friday, the All-Star. We have the three-point shooting. And we have the skills competitions. That'll be on Friday. Saturday is the All-Star game. At the time of this filming, and I know I'm late to the game, I still don't know if Caitlyn Clark is a go for tonight or not. I'm just going to assume she's not. And hope for the best, right? Assume the worst and hope for the best. That way you're pleasantly surprised. Saturday is the All-Star game. Put your opinion in the comment below. Do you think the Connecticut Sun are maybe a little rougher than they should be? And if so, which players do you think are the worst offenders? As always, thank you for supporting my channel. Until next time.